Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Okay, this is a lot darker than I thought. I'm going to move outside. Test, test, test. Test, test. All right. This is my very first YouTube live stream. Let's see how it goes. So today is the second session for the Creativity Reset, the second live session. Still looking at how this looks. A little bit fuzzy, but hopefully anybody watching on the replay can hear it. So I wanted to talk about here today about the creativity and the healing power of creativity. How you can use creative practice to alchemize and integrate and heal yourself whenever you are experiencing challenging situations. Challenging situations in your life, like grief, like loss, sadness, pain, and how we can really support ourselves with our creative practice. So I want to start by reading a few poems by Mary Oliver, American poet, now passed away, but she is one of the rare poets that became very famous in her own lifetime. So let's start by this one. This one. It's called Praying. It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lock or a few small stones. Just pay attention, then patch a few words together and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak. So, really beautiful words there. And I'm just going to read again the last paragraph. A doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak. So, many times, I think when we are going through difficult things in life, or struggles, challenges, or grief, we are overwhelmed by our own voice and our own projections and our own decisions about whatever we are going through means for us, the significance of those events. And the beautiful thing about this poem is just that she's reminding us to let the external world, so nature, take us out of ourselves. Let the external world bring us a different perspective, and even to listen to the language of other creatures or other beings. Okay, I need to charge my battery. So, which other creatures creatures or plants or even natural forms like mountains or rocks, could you have a conversation with in your own creative practice? And that may be a poem, or it may be also something like a painting. A landscape painting is a beautiful way of having a conversation with seemingly inanimate objects like nature. All right, let's look at another Mary Oliver poem. This is a short one, and it's called The Uses of Sorrow. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. So I'm just going to repeat that. The uses of sorrow. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. So that's a little bit like the structure of a haiku, but not exactly a haiku. Just a very short reflection on the things that we learn and experience in relationships. Right. So I'm going to read one more Mary Oliver poem. It's called Starlings in Winter. This is an excerpt of her poem Starlings in Winter. Ah, world, what lessons you prepare for us, even in the leafless winter, even in the ashy city. I am thinking now of grief and of getting past it. I feel my boots trying to leave the ground. I feel my heart pumping hard. I want to think again of dangerous and noble things. I want to be light and frolicsome. I want to be improbable, beautiful, and afraid of nothing, as though I had wings. So that's another beautiful poem about using the beauty of the natural world to see if we can let ourselves be transported out of maybe some deep grief or deep sadness that we might be experiencing at the time. I see there's one person here. I'm not sure who that is, but if you can hear me okay, maybe you can type in the chat. This is the very first time I've done or maybe the second time I've done a YouTube live stream. Okay, I'm going to read one more Mary Oliver poem, and that's called In Blackwater Woods. It's also an excerpt. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. So a nice reflection on detachment, which is one of the Buddhists, the roots of freedom from suffering in Buddhism, non-attachment to everything, including those that we love, including relationships, including people. We must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go. Because if we don't fully love because we're afraid of loss, of losing what we love, it's like we're not really here. Right? It's like we were never really here. Sam, I am. Yes, it's good on audio. Awesome. So this is actually a live session for my creative retreat, which I am currently doing on Substack. But because I was having trouble going live on Substack, I am going live here on YouTube instead. So I'm glad that it's working. All right, so I'm going to show you some drawings that I spoke about yesterday. Let me see if I can find. So this is an illustration for a poem of mine. One of the poems that will probably be in my poetry book, Cracked Open by Love. And as you can see, it's a quite painful image. It's the representation of the feeling of loving somebody who is not really available for love. So loving an emotionally unavailable person, which I've experienced quite a few times in this life. And so this was my way of processing that pain, is to draw this picture. And then I wrote also a poem about that. So the poem is in it's in French and a little bit of Spanish, because that person that emotionally unavailable person is French. And I was living in Spain at the time I had this experience. So it's called Le Jour Rouge, the Red Day. Ya que yo estoy aquí, esperándote, sin saber por qué, sin saber cómo, je suis tombée ici, sans pouvoir bouger, sans pouvoir faire rien, sans savoir qui je suis. Tu m'avais fait quelque chose que je ne sais pas comment changer. Je ne sais si c'est ceci, je ne sais si c'est cela, mais mon cœur est inquiète et mon monde est précaire pour toi. So just to translate, now I am here waiting for you without knowing why, without knowing how. I am fallen down here without being able to move, without being able to do anything, without even knowing who I am. You have done something to me that I don't know how to change. I don't know if it's this, I don't know if it's that, but my heart is upset, inquiet, and my world is precarious because of you. So a painful situation, which I just use this creative expression to understand. And I think if you can see this drawing, you can understand, and I can understand, that if such a situation with a person who is behaving in such a way is just causing me nothing more than pain, then there's something that I need to learn about myself and my idea of love, and maybe learn that this idea of what love is, trying to get emotionally unavailable people to respond, connect, that's not necessarily love. It's something else, something different. All right. The book looks like that handmade paper. Very nice. Use sparingly, always special. Yeah, so this is my journal. And here's another drawing from my very first trip to Ubud in Bali. This was I made on the 21st of August 2008, which was my very first trip here to Bali, to Ubud, where I am now. So you can see the rice paddies, Bath, mountains, frangipanis, coconut trees. So a joyful use of creativity in this instance, a happy drawing. So yeah, for me, creative practice is an alchemy practice, and whether you create poems or whether you create paintings or drawings, it's a conversation between you and yourself, or if you like, between your human self and your higher self. And it's a way to really understand in a much deeper level the nature of your experience of life. And as I said, I had a conversation with some people the other day on Insight Timer on the meditation app. A lot of these poems that I have written for this book, Cracked Open by Love, which I'm planning to publish this year, they are quite painful, and they're expressing quite a bit of sadness, because also quite a lot of them are about the loss of my brother, who died when I was 26. But often it's these moments of sadness that we need our creative practice more than anything, right? So I'm going to read you another one of my poems. It's called The Cure. And this one I wrote in Cambridge when I was living briefly in Cambridge, UK, in January 2002. So it's called The Cure. Will my poems help to cure the searing pain inside? Or will I just become immune to the emptiness I hide? Since that day you left this world, flying off your bike, a part of me has also left swiftly overnight. No longer am I quite myself like I was before. That girl who I once was has gone forevermore. How is one to live a life left so incomplete, robbed of a brother? My bloodlets, the future looks so bleak. So that one is called The Cure, and though I guess it sounds pretty sad, The Cure is exactly that. It's the fact of just writing. The cure is connecting with myself, it's expressing myself, and it's knowing that even having lost my brother, which was probably the most traumatic experience I've had in my life thus far, I still had myself, and I was still, life is still worth living even with such a grief. But you have to find a new way of being in the world, because you do become a different person. I think when you lose somebody who is that close to you, you are changed forever. And you have to work out the new way of being in the world, how to do that. And writing for sure is a good way to help work that out. Okay, I'm going to read one more poem from this book, and then I will give you an exercise for anybody who is watching this on the replay. So this poem is called The Prince. So this is from a few years later, a few years after that other one, and this is written in Palma de Mallorca when I was living in Mallorca in the Balearic Islands in July 2006, The Prince. Now is a saddening time. All is misery and strife. The warring world is battling on, stamping out the life. In my heart are swirls of grey, reflections of the night. But carry on, the old ones say. Keep fighting the good fight. The prince is in his castle, the dog is in his den, the gypsies are dancing on, without a care or ken. The drunks they wander here and there, searching for a home. The birds are drifting in the breeze, across continents they roam. The clock keeps ticking, ticky-tock, on and on it goes. The tap keeps dripping, drippy drop, water down the drain. My friend is sleeping, breathing deeply on the far side of the moon. My brother visits, walking slowly as he passes through the room. This life is strange, it ebbs and flows. Comes happiness, comes pain. Just like the night that needs a day and the earth that loves the rain. Though now I dwell in different realms, this is my brother speaking in the poem, where weather is not felt. Do not think that because of this my heart cannot still melt. You are strong, my dearest girl, my sister through and through. You are here yet in the world, so be radiantly you. So that is The Prince. A prince, maybe that prince is my brother. So I'm just going to get a drawing that I wrote for that I made for that poem. So that's my drawing for that poem, The Prince. And this is like me where I lived in Palma de Mallorca with my boyfriend at the time. In this old building in the middle of this old town. So my challenge for all the people on my creative retreats today is to write a poem. So it can be a short one like this Mary Oliver poem. The Uses of Sorrow. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. So write a poem about grief. And see if you can focus on the gifts of the grief, what you received from the grief, and maybe part of that was just recognizing how much you love that person that you lost or were in the process of losing, or who died, whatever the nature of the grief. See if you can focus on the gifts and use that as your inspiration for writing a poem about grief today. Any grief that it may be present grief, it may be past grief, whichever you feel like to focus on. And so I'm going to end this here, and I'm just going to show you also a little drawing that I made yesterday. So this is just a kind of abstract drawing, and for me it kind of represents a little bit the theater of our life. Our life is this kind of constant theater play that's going on, and we are the ones that are directing the theater. We are writing the play, and we are also the main character. And it's up to us what we want our the next act in our play to be. So our creative practice can really help also with that, as well as processing whatever difficult or challenging experiences that we go through. We can also use our creativity to kind of draw the next act. I'm not sure what this means exactly, all the triangles and the lines, but there's definitely some action going on there in that theater of life. All right, so Sam, thank you for joining me here. And hopefully this will save correctly for all my creative retreaters. And you can watch it on the replay. Thanks for joining my very first live stream on YouTube, which actually worked. I think I've tried it before, but that didn't really work. Okay. So wishing everybody an interesting experience with this grief poem if you choose to take up this creative challenge. And Sam says, great, good poetry exercise. Awesome. So you're welcome also to do that, Sam. If you want, totally up to you. But if you like, you could also join my my creative retreat. It lasts for 2 more weeks. I'll just put the address of my Substack in here. So to join the creative retreat, the remaining 2 weeks of the creative retreat, where I give people creative exercise every 2 days on email, and we have a creative community forming, you can go to my Substack. And yeah, you just have to pay for a membership, which is $7 US for a month. So yeah, just in case that might be interesting, feel like checking that out, you can go over and have a look. So yeah, that's go to the Substack, and then to join the creative retreat, scroll down to the bottom of my Substack page, and there you will find all of the posts about the creative retreat, and you can join from there if you feel like. You're welcome. Okay, thank you, and I will see everybody next time, everybody who's watching in the replay. And thank you, Sam, for being here. Have an awesome day or evening wherever you are in the world.